Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have a classic, according to Creepypasta.wiki, Mr. Mix. So, yeah, Mr. Mix, it's on Creepypasta.wiki. It's by, or at least it was posted by INGX24 over there. And it's got a little bit of it when you go to the wiki, it does show that it's a historical archive. And it actually, as I discovered, setting up for the show, that this story actually has a Know Your Meme article. So the story came out in 2020 or in 2011. And it seems like the story itself, the story first, and then a bunch of the images and like fan art, and even some even an indie video game based on the story have spawned since then.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mr. Mix has had has had a little bit of a cult following in creepypasta circles, and like computer horror or internet horror circles since. Basically since about 2011 to 2015. That's what we're tackling tonight. And I suppose we should give our initial recommendations before we dive into anything further. I'm going to partially recommend this one. Low end, though, partial recommendation.
And I'm not going to recommend this one.
Yeah, I'll pass on it too.
Fair. Well, let's find out why we gave those recommendations or non-recommendations, and see if anything changes. Starting with the rundown. So this Nair, for lack of a better word, i.e., a name, the third person, or the person who's like telling the story to people, Nair, is inquiring about this, or either inquiring or just like telling people, hey, have you heard about this 90s computer game called Mr. Mix, which is a weird children's typing edutainment game. The game has players test their typing skills by trying to get the most words typed per minute so they can progress as the words go into a mixing bowl for the creepy titular chef character to like mix up and such. The game has a nasty difficulty curve, as normally people can only really reach level 5, both because of an insanely high word count that progressively pops up each level, or it progresses each level, and because of the odd music and sound effects score that is in the game that is very distracting and borderline harmful to a person.
It's not borderline; it is harmful.
Yeah, but it like ranges from just being distracting to like it's literally causing your ears to bleed.
Yes.
The character displayed on the in the interface, Mr. Mix, also seems to cause psychological trauma to many children who after playing the game suffer nightmares involving him doing something that they don't want to talk about or can't talk about. The game was pretty obscure until a ROM was posted and hackers got into the code and were able to crack into level 6. But each hacker who did so abandoned their investigation on this software, and upon seeing the 6th level, vanished or essentially went insane in rather creepy and skeevy ways. Since then, the game has all copies of the game have been destroyed, and like no one's seen it since. And again, there's a reference of one of the people who was hacking the game was arrested for attempting to kidnap an 8-year-old girl. So yeah, that's basically it. That's the end of the story. So I suppose we'll move on to everyone tolerates the Grammar Inquisitions. At this point, I don't really have anything, guys. Mikey, the Sense of Evil.
I have a Connection Junction, which is just an it story.
Okay. And now an it story with Mikey. The E stands for evil. Take it away.
It was mainly a typing game, similar to Mario Teaches Typing, where you have to put words into a box to make a chef, the titular Mr. Mix, place ingredients into a bowl. It had a words per minute requirement for each level, being as low as 10 on level 1 and as high as 85 on the third. It remained in relative obscurity until a few years ago, when PC hackers got a hold of a ROM of it and started digging through it. Finn.
Done. Nothing spooky about this at all.
Really not.
Really hard game.
So yeah, not much to say with that one, but Mikey grabs all the sentences throughout a story that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ands, or buts, strings them together into a story, and sometimes with hilarious results, sometimes not, like this one.
Like this one was just basically like you defanged it from any chance of it having horror, just being a really difficult game that like hackers were able to hack. That's it.
Yep, they did that thing.
Mm-hmm. Gamer, do we have a grammar in yellow?
No.
Yeah, this one was relatively competent otherwise. Aside from the it story, but yeah. So I guess we'll move on to actual thoughts. The remaining 2 levels had an incredibly loud, high-pitched ringing throughout that caused severe eardrum damage to those who managed to get that far. So yeah, this is in response to this is the quote and stuff about the soundtrack and the score, and like in regards to this music and stuff. First off, just like don't use speakers or mute the game. but also like reading this aspect of the game, like what would compel someone to play or even have speakers on save like stupidity and morbid curiosity. Which don't get me wrong is actually fine as an explanation, because like being morbidly curious about a game that's like weird and like has like odd choices in its like soundtrack and stuff like that, like I'd definitely be that person.
Yeah.
See the part where I just said like out of who would play this game outside of being really stupid or just out of morbidly curious? Yeah, I'd be stupid.
Yeah, that'd be me.
But yeah, it feels like the game is actively trying to deter you from playing or even listening, or at the very least listening to it, which I could actually that could actually be really interesting to me. As an angle for a cursed or spooky creepypasta video game. Like the game is actively trying to stop the player or giving them a chance to bow out of being cursed or having some horrible end happen. Like I kind of like that. Like it's almost like there's some safeguards in like the cursed object or the cursed video game that like it tries to like, are you sure you want to be cursed? Like are you sure you want this? Like, you know, curiosity killed the cat. Pandora, like, are you sure, Pandora? You sure you want to open that box? I kind of like that idea for like a cursed video game or something like that, where like most people like maybe do play it smart and don't do this, and the creepy story is on the one or few people that are either dumb enough or just like too curious for their own good to keep playing and get cursed.
Yeah. The problem is we don't really know what the creepiest part of this is, the part that we know absolutely nothing about.
Yeah. But
because everything else is explainable, you know?
Yeah. And actually even like that part at the end, like when like we never get actually that's later in my story, or later in my my notes here for the story. Let me see if I can just pull that up now. Yeah, so like when it's talking about like unfortunately all the original hackers declined to discuss what they saw in the final level. And like I leave like kind of a Lovecraftian comment. It's like, well, I mean, of course, it was indescribable. But like honestly, like that is a very Lovecraftian or cosmic horror kind of thing. And I've seen it in movies like done really well. Like somebody like they know they don't like the movie or the show will never actually show you what the person is seeing. It's just like kind of shows from behind like a folder that they're looking into, or like the showing like the back of the computer monitor, and just seeing the person's like facial expression as they are like bearing witness to what they are seeing on the screen. And it's usually just, and then like right afterward, like there's no words, they just get up and just go and kill somebody. That was responsible for showing them this, or for creating this thing. Like it's a very, very interesting like Lovecraftian sort of like horror trope of giving it not revealing what the horrible thing is, just kind of leaving it to the imagination as to what was so horrifying that the hackers just like stopped investigating it and stuff like that. And there are hints in the story a little bit about like probably what was shown that I think I might touch on in my notes, but yeah. And speaking on that, I guess I'll move on to the next thing I have. Another rather disturbing aspect of the game was the design of Mr. Mix himself. He was a large, round-faced, overweight man with beady eyes and red spots on his cheeks. Oh man, guys, I don't know about you, but I'm terrified by that description.
Or no?
Honestly, I feel like
yeah, I have an entire note that's like, this is not a horrifying description at all.
No, that's I'm being sarcastic.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, my comment here, I feel like it should have gone harder, like way harder on the description. Like it might be relying too. At first, I was like, actually my notes here, I have like it might be relying too much on the image that's provided. But actually, looking into that image came after the story was posted. And it is actually a rendition of like the nightmares that some of the children experienced of Mr. Mix. And so it's not even like the actual like it's not even technically the version of Mr. Mix that's in the story. It's just an interpretation of it. And there's a bunch of fan art of Mr. Mix out there that I'm sure is more horrifying than the image that we even see. But like, you really want to have that in your story if you're not rely visually on an image with the story.
Yeah, when I was initially scrolling through as well, I saw some of the comments actually show other images of him too, and like none of them are creepy either. Like,
I mean, some of them. I mean, it's just like creepy and like not like in sort
way.
Of like like they're creepy in like a sense of like a high schooler or even like a middle schooler would find it creepy, maybe. Like it's more like childlike horror, like childlike creepiness than like something that would scare us as adults.
I guess.
And like I just feel like there definitely is like there's definitely would be room for like to make a grotesque like description in the story, and like maybe even like lean into that uncanny valley vibe that like some of those like pixelated 90s computer games had, which I don't know about you guys, but like I grew up with a bunch of these edutainment games, and always kind of felt like at the like sometimes in the back of my mind, sometimes like while playing it, I would always kind of feel uneasy about the visuals. Sometimes, like there for some reason there was always like an unnerving quality to the like the art and the design of some of the characters and like the and the visuals as well as the musical score. So like I get this desire to like make that into a creepy story, because like some of those were like genuinely like some intentional or not, some of them were like just kind of like uncanny valley creepy, gave me a sort of a sense of like dread, like just like a sliver of it in the back of my mind while I was playing it. And
so yeah, maybe you're a better target audience for this creepypasta than I am.
Yeah, well, it's very possible. And like again, just like obviously this one kind of definitely felt like very I like childish or like kind of like it was definitely geared to. I feel like the horror for this is definitely geared toward like a younger audience than like us. Like even I'm willing to admit that because like I have more like more kind of like I still recall my like childlike wonder and horror of like those kind of things, but even like as an adult, I'm like looking at this and it's like this isn't scary at all. Like I look at this as like, oh, this is quaint. This is what I used to be. I probably would have been afraid of this when I was like in my teens or like early teens.
I guess, yeah. And I kind of get it because, like, man, I bring up Game Grumps all the time, but one episode of Game Grumps, they were playing an old spelling game that Dan used to play, where like you're a little dolphin swimming around helping these like dudes in a submarine like spell words so they can go down further. And the further you went down in the ocean, the darker it got everywhere, to the point where it's like pitch black. And like Aaron was basically saying how like this is terrifying, but it's not meant to be terrifying, but like
it's that
through different glasses, through different eyes, some things are scary to others and others not so much.
Yeah.
That's probably what this sort of thing is as well.
Yeah, for sure. Like I know like some people again, we've actually had this conversation before about like how I find certain cartoon characters like scary and you're just like this it's not scary at all, it's silly. But that's just because like again, like we both have like different lived experiences, I suppose. Yeah. Or like different views on the world or perspectives. So like my perspective of like what I find creepy is going to be different from yours. And that definitely comes to light a lot more with certain things like this, with like with creepy edutainment games and such.
Plus, you want to extrude as much horror as possible from everything.
Yeah, but it's like not all the time.
In a bad way. I don't mean in a bad way at all.
No, I know, yeah, and but like that's part of my personality. But like also that's like not even when I'm looking for it. Like that's something that happens, and like it happened to me when I was at a younger age when I wasn't as like a huge horror buff, or when I wasn't like seeking it out. So
yeah,
and maybe that's like something like that like I've heard some psychologists call it like the whole nightmare fuel thing. Like when you're younger and stuff like certain things like do kind of like traumatize you lightly, like imagery or like something that you watch or you play that like sort of dictates like how you perceive it later in life. So you don't know what's going to affect you when you're younger. So like I could see this kind of affecting a lot of people when they were younger. Or people find kids and like tweens and such like reading the story and like seeing the image of Mr. Mix and thinking that was like this was like really creepy. But yeah, I think just like back to the actual thing at hand here. I definitely think that description of Mr. Mix definitely could have gone harder.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially since like what we get later about him and how he affects people, like the kids. Like this quote here. Most children who played the game reported having vivid nightmares of Mr. Mix speaking to them in a quiet, raspy voice and threatening them to keep quiet about something. However, none of them could remember exactly what that was. And immediately I went like, maybe they should have called Mr. Mix Mr. Bad Touch, because that is immediately what I kind of like went to for like horrible, traumatizing shit for a child. Is what like their nightmares like secretly unlocking is like they're having like these horrible nightmares of Mr. Mix doing something to them or something.
Yep.
Yeah. So moving on to the next thing I have. This is gonna be a little critically silly. So this is so like up to this point, like it's like the it's really high like learning curve, or like skill curve, music that makes your ears bleed or hurts your eardrums, psychological torment on children, like they're having nightmares of this thing. And then we get this line: for obvious reasons, the game did not sell very well. And my immediately comment to this was no fucking shit. Like, what did you expect?
I don't know how it's sold at all.
Yeah, like this definitely feels like one of those like games that was like sold at like a flea market, or you'd find like a flea market. It's like it's like very rare or like uncommon, and like the guy's just like, "What's your pleasure, sir? Here's a whole." Yeah, sorry.
It's not at a Walmart.
No, it's not. It's not being sold at Walmart, or if it's sold at a Walmart, it's in like the thrift bin, or it's like collecting dust at the very back corner of the old computer game aisle that they used to have back when we were teens. I actually do remember some instances of like when I worked at Walmart in the electronics department, like there's that whole like area where like that they had like all the games like lined up, like the computer games like that were out of glass because they were just computer games. And I remember like having to dust like a bunch of them like all the time, and like some of them were just like these obscure little like edutainment games or just like just old computer games that like no one bought. And that eventually made they eventually made the thrift bin for to get rid of. So yeah, it's definitely one of those things where it's like you're gonna find this at like a garage sale or like in a box at a convention or something like that. Like, yeah,
or a box in your attic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's one of those like it's a creepypasta. It's a creepy artifact of a bygone age, 90s computer games. But I'll move on to the next thing I have here. These files were, I should make sure. Using memory hacking software, they managed to crack the game's code and bypass the impossible 5th level. What they found, however, was highly disturbing and caused many of them to quit the expedition altogether. So I like reading this part, and I was like, wow, this is feeling very much like the digital equivalent of a Lovecraftian character investigating something and seeing too much and going mad. Like it's like a digital horror equivalent or a digital horror equivalent of like a Cthulhu scenario where like you're going on an expedition to some like archaeological dig up down in Antarctica, and you've dug up something that was like not meant for human eyes, and you're slowly going mad.
Yeah.
And then not quite on that, but a little bit further down the story, we have this. These files are reportedly pictures of people with horribly deformed faces appearing to scream in pain and agony, their eyes bleeding from their tear ducts, and their outer layer of skin torn clean off in multiple places. So the game's source code is powered by the souls of the damned.
If you want to view it that way, sure.
Yeah.
Although it like purposefully dumps all that stuff out when you get to that point.
Yeah. And specifically, like I kind of like the idea of like that, like all those people, like all these like faces and stuff that you're seeing are actually all the children or people that have played the game and finished it. This was their just reward. They get sucked into the game, or their souls get sucked into the game.
That would be cool, but we know for a fact that does not happen.
No, unfortunately,
nobody finishes it.
Well, except
no,
the hackers
people do.
Yeah, and actually, I do have something on that, but yeah, sorry.
But no, they don't.
They just got to the next level. They didn't necessarily finish it. I think what Maggie's trying to get at.
Yeah, because the sixth level isn't the end of the game, or it's not really mentioned what the end of the game is, like what level it caps at. It's just that people don't even make it past the 6th level after they've hacked the game so that it doesn't crash on you, or like that you can actually get past level 5. But I do kind of like I kind of think the imagery could have been even cooler here as well. If the faces and like the deformed faces and stuff like that were like in some kind of like a blender or a cooking pot, sticking with the theme of the game, as Mr. Mix is just like putting them in there, and like there's like all these like horrible faces in there.
Yeah, stick with your bit, right?
Yeah, exactly. I also kind of wonder if like this imagery that we're seeing, because this is like after they've hacked and gone to the 6th level, it kind of reminds me of those creepy triggers that pop up in video games that developers add to deter piracy. Like it's like the anti-piracy stuff, where like if you're playing a pirated game, like it'll pop up with like a creepy image and some creepy music or some creepy tone before it like shuts off on you. And then my last bit here is the ending of the story where we get 2 years after this incident, like the hackers and stuff like that, like tapping into the game and then abandoning all the stuff. A man was arrested for trying to kidnap an 8-year-old girl from a grocery store. Through DNA and fingerprint analysis, he was identified as one of the original hackers who had viewed the final level of the game. Okay, so I guess maybe after they were able to get it past the 6th level, maybe like the 6th level was either the final game or they were able to like see the other levels, but it was just too horrifying past that.
Viewing the final level and beating the final level are two different things.
That is true, yeah. But yeah, moving on to the thing here. So he was wearing a white chef's hat and had a look of unspeakable malice and insanity on his face. When interrogated, the man would only say one thing: "I'm Mr. Mix." Shh. So creepypasta. So like game fodder idea I have here. Call of Cthulhu. The game is actually a ritual in digital form that transfers or overrides the mind of the player who finishes the game or who views this part of the game. Like it either like sucks if you beat the game, it sucks your soul in and then like transfers something into your body. Or if you're a hacker that like hacks the game, it just wipes it overrides your mind with that of Mr. Mix.
What end though?
Just as like just as some weird like cruel anti-piracy trigger. Like maybe the developer's just so deranged that it's just like and has like an inkling of occultism. There's like I'm just like, you know what?
A demon to my game, so if anyone hacks it, they're gonna get fucked.
Yeah, like that creepy Sonic face that was created for like anti-piracy. That's far too like chill and like and tame. I'm going to put a goddamn like mind erase, a mind transfer spell into the game, so that if you view like the if you able to like hack the game or crack the game, an image of the ritual, like a mimetic image, will pop up that will transfer your mind into this game, and Mr. Mix will get into your body. And there's actually a spell in Call of Cthulhu called Soul Jar that does that.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, basically just a digital version of Soul Jar that traps your soul and switches your mind with someone else. And I think that would be an interesting setup for a Cthulhu game or a horror game scenario, using this as inspiration. Unfortunately, the rest of the story itself, I think this is going to be echoed, but like, as much as I like enjoy the concept of it, it's just there's not enough here. And yeah, so what we do get is kind of interesting, but it wasn't enough for me. So, but that's all I got for Mr. Mix. So, Mikey, the E stands for evil.
So, let's see. What do we got here? So, starting at the end, because that's where you left off. Yeah. Through DNA and fingerprint analysis, he was identified as one of the original hackers who had viewed the final level of the game.
How? How do they know that?
Yeah. Why did they have DNA of the hacker in the first place unless he was already a sex offender?
Yeah, I mean,
they captured him after this, then they're trying to figure out who he is, and then they did all these tests on him, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
But they have to have the DNA to begin with to be able to match.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how that works. Like, yeah, like, do you get your fingerprint and stuff like that like done? Like, isn't that in a registry already, like all of us, or is that something that's okay? I'm not a professional. I'm not fluent in like crime and stuff like that, so I have no idea. So,
well, you're not fingerprinted unless you've done something bad or you've been caught doing something bad. And they wouldn't have your DNA unless you're a sex offender, because they want to prove that you're the one that did the nasty.
Oh yeah, okay, that's gross. Yeah, that makes sense in a horrible way.
Yeah. So that to me makes the ending like more real world horror, and the guy is just like
Just crazy.
he's gone crazy, and he's trying to just plead insanity by saying he's Mr. Mix.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just to me it loses some of the supernatural horror with that.
Yeah.
So
Like, I mean, you could easily fix this by just saying like the man was identified as one of the original hackers, like after the fact, kind of thing. Like, you don't need to have having the DNA and fingerprint analysis thing, like kind of like it's there to try and like give validity to the story, but then it actually kind of debunks part of it.
yeah. And then my next note here. Unfortunately, all of the original hackers declined to discuss what they saw in the final level. To which my response is, okay, end of story. Why are we still here? Why is there still more to read?
Well, because it's a love, it's very Lovecraftian. This is very actually commonplace. Like, yeah, they refused to comment, but that's why we have to dig deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a trope.
Yeah.
Not a good trope, but a trope.
It's like everyone stop talking, but we still have more information to tell you. Like
Yeah.
what?
Oh, but it's that short film from that based off that other creepypasta we did, like the Red Eye one or something. That's like you looked into that room, didn't you? All right, I'll tell you. The guy that like he was gonna tell the story, and then he just ends up telling the guy like immediately.
Yeah.
I'll leave a link in the description for that short film so people can see that glorious acting.
Yeah. So, my next actual thought here is unlike most typing games, however, the game was notorious for having an insane difficulty curve. It had a words per minute requirement for each level, being as low as 10 on level 1 and as high as 85 on the third. By level 5, the requirement reaches over 500, effectively making it impossible to proceed any further. So a couple of thoughts here. Considering we only get 3 of the requirements for the 5 levels, why not just give us all the requirements?
Yeah, that's true. Also, the story had an opportunity to have a Dragon Ball Z reference. By level 5, the word count is over 9,000.
I don't know if that would make it better or worse if it did that.
It would
though.
it would be silly, but
Well, and then my next portion here is 500 words per minute. That's a large jump, assuming that the 4th level requirement isn't beyond possible. Looking it up, and roughly 120 words per minute is at the high end of what is possible.
Yeah.
and the third level is 85, so
Yeah, so 100 for level 4 and then 500 for level 5. Nobody's finishing this game.
yeah, exactly. Again, the game is actively trying to deter you from like seeing the horror that's at the end of the game.
It's like the game is a troll.
Yeah.
It's like intentionally made to be unbeatable, and those that are completionists that have to beat it, they just can't beat it. And if you've already started it, you're fucked. That's stuck in your head. You will never ever be able to beat that game. Fuck you.
Yeah.
That's basically what it kind of seems like.
That's the horror here, is really just it's a troll. Like it's just like it's a grift.
Not horror though. It's just it's a troll pasta at best.
Yeah,
Like,
honestly, that's kind of what. Honestly, this borders almost on a, like, if it was a little bit if it was even sillier, this would kind of border onto a troll pasta.
Yeah.
Like this would push it over the edge to go on trollpasta.wiki. And like again, like I still think that like if this story had been developed a little bit more to like explain why it's trying to actively stop you from finishing it. I think that would have been interesting. Like maybe there is something at the end, like that is like that's like beneficial to somebody who beats it. Like if they can get past like the horror that like rends their sanity, like they will get something like a wish or something, or like they'll just be something. But the story is too short for that. So
Yeah, there's like no rhyme or reason for anything on it,
yeah,
which is kind of what bugs me.
It's also kind of classic. Like again, this sort of is a trend in some of the early creepypastas. Is like this is like possibly like the first draft of the story that somebody like wrote and then posted online. Probably a younger author or like a younger writer posting this. And like some people probably got creeped out by this, but again, we're older and we're reading this story and like critically, so we're seeing all the glaring seams of the story.
All right. And
Back to you, Mikey.
now for something that Review Cultist asked me to talk about.
I didn't ask you to talk about it. I just assumed you'd have this on your repertoire.
He asked you to. He ordered you to.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm going to talk about it in a different way.
Okay.
So, this is a keyboard game for a PC. It wouldn't have a ROM.
Would it not?
No. ROMs are what they take from cartridges from consoles.
Yeah, you're right, because like it's already in a PC format, so you don't have to rip it into a PC format because it's already a PC format.
Oh. So again, the person probably like didn't know the vernacular or didn't realize what the vernacular of it, and so they did that. Yeah.
Yeah. So when all copies of this ROM were removed from the internet, it didn't exist to begin with.
Yeah. It never. But who was ROM? Yeah. No. Like we talked about before recording. Like I was asking like because I didn't have it in my notes, but I was talking to Mikey about it. About like how the story. I thought the story had said like it was removed from the internet or deleted from the internet. And then I read it again and realized it was just all copies of the game have been destroyed. So basically all the discs or probably all the physical media and stuff like that has been destroyed. But like at the time I was like, but like, how can this, like, if it was like ported to the computer, I jumped I think I jumped a step and thought like, oh, well, it's like online. So like it's online, it's there forever. Like it's very hard to remove something completely off the internet. Mm-hmm. But the story doesn't actually say that. This so like it could be like air gapped on a normal PC when they were like playing when the hackers were playing this game. So it wasn't actually connected to the internet or like the files weren't getting shared necessarily like online.
Yeah. Now
depends on how quickly they shut all this stuff down.
Yeah.
Like because if it was in the 90s, like when did the internet become a thing?
Mid 90s.
Yeah, so if it's like early 90s that this came out, like before internet even,
yeah,
and like all this bad shit started happening, they would have just pulled this off the shelves and done a bunch of recalls and shit. So unless someone kept it and shared it online after like making a crack for it so it'll work without a CD.
It's kind of funny you mentioning that because I'm currently like above my computer on a little shelf I have. I'm staring at all of the old PC games I've had since my earliest PCs because I don't get rid of that shit. So I have like a bunch of classic like computer games from like the early 2000s, late 90s on my computer on my shelf above my brand new computer stuff.
Yeah, I still have all of mine as well. I use mine as like a background filler for like my game shelf to like bring out the back because of how deep my stupid game shelf is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah.
And also, the technical term for this type of thing on PC is abandonware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, okay, this is connective tissues time. I recently went to myabandonware.com like yesterday to look up a game that is no longer available on Steam because of like IP ownership issues, but the person who created the game encourages people to get it from My Abandonware and play it because he wants people to play his game, but he can't like actively sell it because no one owns the rights to it because the publisher, I guess, went out of business or went bankrupt or something like that, and so it's just sort of sitting there in like a space where like the creator, the original creator, can't touch the game, but nobody's around to sell it back to him. So
that sucks.
Yes, but he's encouraging people to sell. So I went to My Abandonware to make sure it was actually there, and it was. So yeah, but yeah, this is Abandonware. That was my connected tissues time. Sorry.
And that's into my actual thoughts.
All right. Then I suppose we'll move on to gamer.
Okay, I think I chimed in with some of my notes, but I was like holding back on some of them because it's like otherwise I'll have nothing to talk about anymore.
Yeah.
So my first note that I wrote is just in regards to the volume, because like it says that like it does these extremely high volumes and it like hurts people's ears and stuff, and like when they get further, it's like high pitched stuff that causes eardrum damage. But like no one would like this would only happen if you couldn't turn the volume down. And I hate how this is told to us because it's like it's on a format that has no volume adjusting feature. Meanwhile, it's on an old 90s PC, so there's volume dials.
Yeah.
There is, except if it's using the system noises.
Yeah, that could be a way to get around it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say that it does that.
And
That's true.
And I think again, I hate to keep going back to this, but I think the explanation for that in the story is because the person just didn't know about that stuff. Like the story, like the person just like wrote the story probably and just posted it online.
Okay, but either way, it's like doubly annoying for me too, because like later on, where it says like the last two levels had really high pitched ringing that caused severe ear damage.
Mm-hmm.
If someone played it enough to get to level 4 and 5, they played through the first level, which had high volumes already, so they were already aware that this game like tries to play loud noises, so they would have turned the volume down.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have caused ear like damage unless they purposefully turned their speakers up max.
Yeah. Yeah, the only reason that that's in this story is because like unless it's maybe supernatural, but it's not really explained that way. It's just, in fact, there's no explanation given. Like why don't they turn it off? Well, the story doesn't explain that. Is it supernatural? Maybe it prevents you from like turning the volume down. It's like it doesn't explain that.
Yeah, that's my whole problem. If I don't have a problem with these things happening of the game playing these loud noises and doing all this weird shit, but you have to realize the format that it's in. If the format allows you to turn down the volume, then having the entire focus of the story being on volume makes it null and void. Because you could just turn the volume down. Like this is like in the same sort of category as like the Pokemon creepypastas, where it's like there's scary stuff happening on the screen, but I could just turn the game off. This is like there's scary stuff, there's scary noises coming from this game, but I could just turn my speakers off.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So why? So if this was, for example, like one of those old school handhelds, like that had like two colors on the screen, I don't know if they had volume knobs or not.
Actually, I have a Game Boy, like not color, like an OG Game Boy.
Yeah,
I think it's in a box somewhere though, so I can't actually check it.
Has a volume thing.
I'm not talking about a Game Boy. I'm talking about a handheld that its purpose is to play this one game.
The Tiger Electronic stuff, like those the Game and Watch kind of games.
Yeah, they probably have volume knobs as well, but like something like an arcade machine, you can't fuck with the volume on an arcade machine. It's just set like that.
God, can you imagine a typing edutainment arcade cabinet?
I want one.
I kind of want to. Hang on, I kind of want to see if that exists.
Did they do Typing of the Dead?
Oh, that would be Typing of the Dead is the first thing that comes up when I typed in typing.
Hell yeah, it knew.
Gamer.
Yeah,
Typing of the Dead arcade cabinet found in Tokyo Arcade.
we're going to Tokyo. Here we go.
Oh my god, I need to
Oh,
share.
is it 2-player?
Oh, it's 2-player, dude.
It's got
I'll
two
share.
keyboards.
I'll share an image with you, buddy. Hang
Hell
on.
yeah.
This is amazing. This is on a Reddit forum that somebody took too. So, oh my god. Hold, please.
Oh fuck god.
That is so amazing. And like
Oh,
right
that's
next to
great.
it, also right next to a Dragon Ball Z arcade game.
Yeah,
Anyway, sorry. Yeah,
that's excellent.
that is so cool.
Wow.
Yeah, so I guess typing arcade cabinets do like exist. Oh my god, and like Google imaging that like shit. There were different designs for them as well.
Mhm.
They're like a lot more streamlined. Like they don't have like the box. Like some of them are more just like you can actually like it's like partially like an ergonomic like key like computer table
What I wish
with an integrated cabinet.
we're not even talking about the story
I
anymore,
know.
but about Typing of the Dead, I wish what they did for the arcade cabinet was there's a keyboard there that is hardwired to the machine.
Yeah.
And there's straps on it that you have to wear and put
Yes.
on. Because like in the game of Typing of the
You
Dead, your
have to
characters
wear-
are running around wearing like the actual keyboards.
Yeah, and they have like a Dreamcast like on their back, like a backpack or something.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
But like actually putting on that whole unit, that'd be awesome for immersion purposes.
Absolutely.
Typing of the Dead.
Yeah, but so actually back to the game, like to Mr. Mix and stuff like that.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I
I
guess.
think actually like that would actually be a really that would add extra to this being like really unique as like a creepypasta like game thing. Is if it was like a almost like Polybius in that it was a like this like really like experimental like arcade cabinet that that popped up in the 90s. Like
Plus, like just looking at it, people would want to play it because they're like, why is there a keyboard on that one?
Exactly. Yeah.
That
What?
alone would get it played.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like that would be such a cool idea for this is if it was like an arcade cabinet for typing because then again it fixes the volume issue in that like yeah.
There are two ways to fix the volume issue. That way, or as Mikey brought up, use the system audio of the computer itself because the computer can like make noises.
Yeah.
So if it's straight up said that like the game made all these weird noises regardless if the speakers were off because it came through the computer itself, that's fine. That would explain it all out. But it doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm sad.
Mhm.
Because like the way it is right now, as it's described, hardly anyone would actually get any hearing damage from this because like I feel like you would just instinctively reach over and turn it down if it's loud.
Yeah,
unless someone's holding a gun to your head
yeah.
to leave it on high.
Or if, again, like the game's like you try to like lower the volume and it's just not working. Like that's the only reason you wouldn't turn it like that you couldn't like turn it off is like like I brought up in my notes like that was the first thing that popped. I was like, why are you not turning off the volume or like or removing your speakers from the computer? Like,
but yeah. Briefly going back to like the design of Mr. Mix himself and how he's not disturbing. It's weird describing like having that clean of a description saying it's disturbing. Meanwhile, like video games like Resident Evil and Silent Hill have been out at this point.
Yeah, like
so like the bar of disturbing is way higher for like mundane, just standard horror games.
Yeah, and like it's again like there are again I know edutainment games like that had like some kind of unsettling and unintentionally unsettling character design for some of the creatures and some of that in their game or the characters in their games. And again, like some of the fan art like that like does try to like do that justice for Mr. Mix, but the story itself does not at all.
No, not at all.
It just says, it's just that one line. It's just like it's a fat guy in a chef suit, has rosy cheeks, and beady black eyes. I'm absolutely terrified.
Totally.
Yeah.
but I'll move on from that. So regarding the game filling up like the System 32 folder and like bricking the PC.
Yeah, we didn't touch on that at all, actually. So, whether you're
I mean, you did.
Well, we kind of did, yeah.
You brought that up because that's where the creepy images are getting deposited.
Yeah, but I didn't bring up the actual like how it's happened. So I just kept saying that it was like the hackers get past the like crack the game kind of thing.
Yeah. Either way, like when I got to that point in the story, I'm like, what is the purpose of this game's existence? Because like it's not fun or educational since like there's barely any gameplay because there's like 2, maybe max 3 levels that any normal person would be able to play through, and of levels of unknown duration that could be like 2-minute long levels, you know?
That's true, yeah, because like it says like you have to be at like 85, like as high as 85 like words per minute. But like how long is that level? Like how long are you doing? Are you doing it for a minute? Like are you trying to like type as much in that minute? Like, and is it only a minute long, or is there a longer thing for that?
I don't know, because like this is a video game creepypasta that does not describe the video game portion of the creepypasta very much. It's all of it.
Yeah, it's again, it's one of those early ones that it's just like that's one of the failing trope, or one of the early tropes where it's like it's spooky. I'm not going to give all the details, but it's spooky.
Yeah,
I swear, guys.
So yeah. I don't know. The purpose of it kind of seems like if this was a game that was made in real life, it was just made by someone that's an asshole who's wanting to troll people and brick people's PCs. It's not really like horror, you know? It's just a guy being a dick. Whoever the creator of Mr. Mix the video game, not the creepypasta.
Yeah. The video game itself, like again, especially like with like Polybius and stuff like that. Like there's mention of like a developer. Like if these people like had the game disc and stuff like that, should they not have given it like that kind of information? Like of like who, like even come up with like some enigmatic developer of the game or like
there should be a developer, because like you would be seeing that, because unless it specifically says it doesn't say it, but tell us that, because that is something that is abnormal compared to playing a normal game.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not like this is in Pong era where you turned on the Pong machine and then you had Pong, like before even any like people put their names on it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Then my last note is basically on the ending of like the dude being insane and like he's Mr. Mix now. Like I don't know if that ending was meant to have impact, but I didn't feel it.
No.
Personally. It was just kind of reading through the whole story, my response, all of my notes could just be what? Next note, what? Next note, what? Because like it was just confusing, and like even the ending was confusing. It's like, okay, cool, the guy went insane, but that's not necessarily anything supernatural or not. The guy could just be kind of nuts. I don't know. Why is he Mr. Mix? Does that mean he's like, is he going to be making a new version of the game now? I don't know. I don't know anything. I know less now than I did when I started reading this.
Yeah. Like I construed some stuff about it, like based on what I read of like, oh, like people like the hackers who like got to the final stage, like they became very paranoid and like suffered some kind of like trauma, like psychological trauma, and then like went missing or basically went insane. And then the story does give us an example of one of those people that went insane, and it was this guy who was like trying to kidnap an 8-year-old girl. And saying he was Mr. Mix, and I was like, so I guess the game maybe like did like brain fuckles these people into like making them think that they're maybe Mr. Mix or something. Like I don't know, and that's just me like thinking about that after what I read, but like that's not actually in the story. It's just there is some information. Some information develops, but like you said, like some of it's just like it just kind of randomly happens.
Plus, like him trying to take a little girl saying that he's Mr. Mix. Like, that's not something that Mr. Mix does in the game.
But it is hinted at in earlier on in the story where like the kids who play the game have nightmares of Mr. Mix, telling them something creepy like don't tell them what we're doing kind of thing, and then like it's like what is it? Hang on, where's the bit here? Most children who play the game have vivid nightmares of Mr. Mix, speaking in a raspy voice, threatening to keep them keep quiet about something. However, none of them can remember exactly what that was. Now, again, it's very vague, so I'm immediately going to like the worst case scenario in that they're having nightmares of like being molested by Mr. Mix or something.
Yeah.
And so like, and then at the end we get this like thing where like this guy who went nuts after seeing the final stage effectively took on the persona of Mr. Mix and is trying to kidnap an 8-year-old girl at a grocery store. So again, I'm seeing two kind of parallels in the story that are vaguely hinted at. And unfortunately, I think the story is just the story is leaving too much to the imagination and is being too vague for its own good.
For sure, yeah. Because like it's one thing if like everyone who got to the final stage like got that and like got that same level of insanity, like the exact same thing. They all think they're Mr. Mix. They're all turning into like kidnappers and stuff like that. But it's just this one instance.
Well, yeah, and who knows? Like maybe there are other instances that just aren't being referenced because, like, it says a little bit earlier before this part, after the hackers declined to discuss what they saw on the final level, each of them became extremely paranoid and reclusive afterwards, refusing to talk about anything related to the game and showing astonishingly extreme symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. Most of them ceased to be able to form coherent sentences within a week. Within a month, all of them had gone missing. So they've all like gone off the grid basically, and maybe they've all become Mr. Mix. But again, it's very vague. It's just like it's in that style of like an urban legend of like where we don't have all the details. But yeah,
About it for my notes.
okay. Well, then I suppose on to final thoughts here. I do still want to partially recommend it, at least on the low end, because I do like the concept of the story and the turn. I do actually. I know we were just talking about it, but I do like the kind of the ending. It wasn't like a big impact to me, but I liked how it progressed and how it went to like apparently the people maybe get infected with this mind virus and become Mr. Mix or something. And I'm also a fan of creepy edutainment games, so like intentional or not. So if you're similar, like-minded, that's where this recommendation is kind of coming toward. But otherwise, I just feel like the story needed more like writing, like more description, more explanation on some things for like to make it a more coherent story. Because as it is, it's really just an urban legend that happened to a friend of mine kind of thing. And like that's early creepypasta, like that's very like back to basics, classic internet horror, like the kind of thing that's shared on like 4chan's X thread or like again Reddit No Sleep or creepypasta.wiki in the early days. But like as I'm older now and like now that I'm reading these stories again, and it's just like it definitely could use more more substance, please. But yeah, so yeah, my partial recommendation on the low end is more for like people who have, I guess, a nostalgia for like creepy edutainment games and like that early style of like creepypasta. But otherwise, like I can't recommend this because it needs more. Mikey, D stands for evil.
Well, as I stated, there's nobody finishing that game because the requirements just spike hard to 500, and it's like, well, nobody can type that fast.
Nobody.
So, and I mean, even at like the high end 120 minute or 120 words per minute, there's still gonna be like a 1% error rate. So in computer games, you have to be 100% accurate, or else it's not going to count. So that whole like this game is uber hard.
Well, we also don't know the failure rate. For all you know, you just have to get 80% of it and you can move on, as long as you have that words per minute. Again, we know so little about the game.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah. And that's like I said in that section, it's like, well, give us more detail. Like, you're telling us there's 5 levels. You tell us the first level, the third level, and the 5th level. Why leave out the 2nd and 4th?
Yeah.
Strange. Well, it also it's just like the second one was the same as the first. Well, that's the thing. It's a typing game. It's like the same thing over and over again. The second level is the same as the first, just with no sound.
Yeah, there might be some like level of complexity, like words might be bigger or longer, like the more you go, but we don't know.
There's not enough detail, unfortunately. And then we get all the hackers declined to discuss what they saw. It's like, well, okay. So that's your number one source of information, and they're not going to tell you.
Yeah.
It just... There's so much that rubbed me the wrong way. When I was reading this, like this, as we point out, the ROMs, like why this is a PC game, why is it a ROM?
Yeah.
And
catch that. Good job catching that.
I mean, did you expect anything less from our demonic IT guy?
No, of course not.
And then the DNA and fingerprint stuff at the end, it's like, okay, well, when you think about it, it's like, well, that's not tied to the game necessarily at all. It's just the guy's just trying to plead insanity. Or to make it seem like he's insane.
Way to mundanify like the one cool horror part of the story. God damn it.
The story itself mundanifies itself. Like,
yep.
Let's be real.
So that being said, I still cannot recommend this.
Fair. And Gamer.
Yeah, I'm still also gonna not recommend it. I don't understand how this got so big. Like, I don't want to be like rude or mean or nothing, but just like there's so little here. I don't understand how it took off so much. Like with people like making like actual functional versions of the game and stuff like that, and all this fan art and stuff. Meanwhile, there's so little here. Maybe it's because there's so little here. So like people are wanting to actually flesh it out more, aka make a game to flesh it out so you can actually see all the things the story doesn't actually say. But man, it's weird how little there is here.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a look at the Know Your Meme thing for a second, because they usually have something like about the spread. The creepypasta became popularized online over the following years of 2011. And so apparently, my guess is younger creepypasta readers, like back in the day, read this story, did get somewhat creeped out by the surface ideas that were being posed in the story, because that's like, what I'm thinking about the story is like it's very surface level. Like if you read even beneath that surface, it falls apart. But if you're like a younger reader or like reading these creepypastas, like these spooky stories on like a dark website, and you get inspired by that and start creating like fan art, and like that's where it really kind of started spreading was the fan art online. And then in 2015, apparently a YouTuber named Subject One posted a video recreating a version of the Mr. Mix game, which garnered a ton of attention over the next couple of years after that. And then more people started doing readings of it for their, like, basically the narrator started adding on to the spread. And then in the last 5 years, a couple of like indie games have come out because as like based off the story. So I think it's just sort of a domino effect of popularity. Like it was one of those early creepypastas that caught on the surface level, and like people remembered kind of fondly, or like kind of got creeped out because they were young enough to get creeped out by it. And they started making art that was way creepier than the story merited. And that's what people, and it's sort of that nostalgia, like rose-colored glasses sort of thing of like people remembering the story from when they read it when they were younger, and getting creeped out by it. And then so they start trying to make it even more creepy in like their own like fan art and fan works kind of stuff. So
I guess, but like you're talking about how like if you look past the surface level is just it's a video game creepypasta. So like by that merit, any other video game creepypasta has more to it than this.
I mean, true, but like I think this is just one of those ones like like you say it's just another creepy video game, or like a video game creepypasta. I think this one just it managed to like hook into enough people's minds that that's how it took off.
Yeah. Fair
and
enough.
It's just like it may not have even like been purposeful. It's just like, again, like lightning striking at the right time or like the right moment kind of thing.
Well, either way, it wasn't for me.
Yeah. No, of course, yeah. So yeah, 2 non-recommendations, and again a partial recommendation if you're a fan of classic creepypasta, like the old school creepypastas and edutainment games. But like again, it needs work. Like even I'm willing to admit like it does need a bit more work to actually like make it some like have any kind of like substance to it.
Yeah, with the like view of it actually making sense in regards to the effects of it and the noise situation. If that is all fleshed out, then I would at least be able to partially recommend it, if not fully recommend it. It's just so confusing.
Fair.
That's my problem with it.
Yeah. But yeah, that'll do it for this week's episode. So if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted. Some of us are on Blue Sky. Mikey is at the E Stands for Evil, and I'm at Review Cultist. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah. And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. We have special episodes, early access, and extra content. To all our patrons helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely. Because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship, writing and posting these stories on the internet, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we have nothing to talk about. So, thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the E Stands for Evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.